Hey guys, my name is Matimo, and today I wanted to keep you guys in the loop as to what is going on with Battlefield 4 and what we can be expecting for the future patch updates. A lot has been going on with the CTE servers over the last couple of weeks. DICE has been doing a lot to improve the game, and this week they've been going into overdrive. Like, there has been an absurd amount of changes. They're trying to fix Rush. They're trying to make it so that Rush is a more playable game mode. They've also done some things to Recoil. They've reduced the suppression. We'll go into the more of the details, but overall, a lot of great changes have been going on. And probably the best change that's coming up is that they're completely removing the commander mode from Rush. This honestly needed to happen a long time ago. Like, Rush is all about flanking. It's all about getting behind enemy lines. It's about going in and capturing or arming those objectives when you're on offense. But when you're always on the minimap, and since the maps are always linear, you know, there's an offense and a defense, and you basically always have to push forward, trying to flank around and catch your enemy off guard by going on those flanks is almost impossible if there's a commander up in the sky constantly spamming your UAV. It could be counteracted by the counter UAV if you do have a commander, but honestly for Rush, it just didn't make any sense. Like, it almost ruined the game mode entirely for me. And so this one small tweak, this one small difference, at least in my opinion, is going to make a world of a difference and finally make the game mode a little bit more enjoyable. Another way they're trying to rebalance Rush is to make certain maps a little bit easier on the offensive team, and right now they're trying to rebalance Zavad and Siege of Shanghai. If you guys have played on either of those maps for Rush, you know that there are certain MCOM or there are certain bases where it feels almost impossible. Siege of Shanghai, for example, if you get past that first base and you try to go down into the tunnel section, like if the tank and the enemy knows what they're doing and they just camp down there the entire round, it's almost impossible for you to actually arm that objective. Like, your entire team has to be working cohesively, because if you're all not charging down all at the same time, hitting them from every single direction, it's literally impossible for you to take out the tank and then everyone that's around the objective. Like, it was a nightmare. And so the way that DICE is trying to rebalance it is that they're giving you certain vehicles or more vehicles for the offensive team when you're playing on these game modes, and they're also rearranging where the MCOMs are. And for the most part, I would say that these changes have been successful. Like, no longer when you're on the offensive team do you have this sense of hopelessness when you're on certain objectives and on certain bases for these maps. There are still moments where it's challenging. I would not say that you now steamroll when you're on offense. It's not like a complete shift on over to the other side. But now it seems like if you're the offensive team and your team is doing well, you're nailing your shots, you're going to be more likely to win and push up onto the MCOMs and then hopefully win the round. And so I think overall these changes have been fantastic for Rush. They've also made some tweaks to the way that the suppression effect works. Suppression is a pretty controversial topic within the Battlefield community. Some people love it. They love the idea of being able to suppress their enemy. You know, if a recon is on top of a building, they know they're not going to be able to kill them. They like the concept of being able to put a couple of shots in their direction, suppress them a little bit, make it a little bit harder for them to line up their shot so that they don't get the headshot on them. That is the one side. On the other side, a lot of people don't like it that it rewards people who shoot first. And so if you are someone who doesn't have the best accuracy, you see someone off the distance, you fire first, they retaliate on you. Because you're the one that fired first, they're dealing with more bullet suppression, they're going to have more weapon sway, they're going to have to deal with more recoil, and because of that, they're going to lose the firefight, even though normally they would have won the firefight because their skill level is higher than you, they're better at compensating for recoil, but because they're having to deal with more factors, you win simply because you fired your weapon first. So that's the other side of the coin. And what it appears that DICE is doing is that they're going down the middle of the road, where you are still going to have to deal with weapon sway if you are fully suppressed, but you're not going to have to deal with any aim down sights increase to your recoil. There's still going to be a penalty for hip fire. I think they've reduced it by 75%, so it's a lot better, but really, aim down sight accuracy is the big one here. Not having to deal with more recoil is going to make things a lot more skill-based. Sure, weapon sway is still going to be a pain, but having to deal with one less factor is going to require more skill on the part of the player to win those firefights. If you're the one who shoots first, you're not necessarily going to have as large an advantage over your enemy, and you're going to have to rely more on your accuracy. You're going to have to take them out before they kill you. And so personally, I like these changes. Like, I get the concepts of suppression. I know that a lot of people out there like it. It makes it very unique to the Battlefield franchise. But for a lot of people, including me, I like it when if I get shot at, I can be able to retaliate, and I don't feel like a sitting duck. I don't feel like I'm got a completely huge disadvantage compared to my enemy. And so I think that these changes are a step in the right direction. The one thing that I was not expecting them to do is that they're trying to adjust the way that the visual recoil works. So if you are not aware, I actually wasn't aware of this for a very long time. The visual recoil on a lot of these weapons, like the Type 88 and the G36C, for example, the visual recoil, when you're aiming down sight, you're holding down the trigger and it's bouncing left and right, that visual recoil is larger than the actual recoil of the weapon. So when it's bouncing to the left, it's not actually going where your crosshair is aiming. It's actually a little bit more accurate than that because the weapon is more accurate than the visual recoil. I know it doesn't really make sense, but essentially they're not aligning right now on the normal Battlefield servers. And so what DICE is essentially trying to do, they're experimenting with some solutions. It's not completely fixed, but they're trying to line up that visual recoil with the actual recoil of the weapon. I know that some people are trying to make the argument that they like that this visual recoil system because it makes things a little bit more challenging, but honestly, like, I just don't get this argument because the visual recoil isn't lining up with the normal recoil, which not only isn't realistic, but it just doesn't make for fun and enjoyable gameplay. Like, you're expecting your bullet to go one way, it's not going where it's supposed to go, and that just doesn't sound like a good way to try and balance out your weapons. So I like that DICE is trying to tackle the visual recoil quote-unquote bug. And then the last thing on my list, and this is more down the pipeline, I don't think that they've made any adjustments to the CTE server yet with this, but they want to change the way that flinching works for the higher optic scopes, like for the 4x scope. The way they phrase it is that it's imbalanced right now, and I'm assuming that means that when you are using the higher optics, like, sure, you can see more what's in front of you, you can see farther, but if anyone shoots at you, the flinch feels larger on the higher optics compared to if you were using, let's say, like the red dot sight. And so the problem that arises from this is that the red dot sights usually outperform the higher optics even at long range because, sure, you can acquire your targets a little bit easier with the ACOG scope, but once they start to shoot at you, you flinch all over the place, you can't be consistent with your shot, and so they win the firefight simply because they're not flinching as much, or it doesn't feel like you're flinching as much. We currently don't know when this is going to be implemented. I'm hoping it's going to be soon so we can start to test things out, but I think it's awesome because this right here is like the very reason why I don't use the higher optics. It's simply because of the large flinch. And so overall, this week on the CTE has been fantastic. I love what they're doing with Rush. I'm so glad that they're removing the commander mode, but I'd love to know what you think so far of these changes. Would you like to see some more adjustments to Rush? Do you think some of the MCOMs should be changed once again? Do you not like the placement right now? Let me know down below. Do you like that they are changing suppression effect, or do you think that it should stay the same that it is right now? Also, let me know down below. But that's about it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and so until tomorrow, have a good one, and take it easy.